with shelling and airstrikes hitting several buildings. The Russian military says it has used long-range, high-precision weapons. Russia has also targeted Kyiv with sea and air-launched cruise missiles. However, Moscow has reiterated that it is not targeting Ukrainian cities, but only military centers. While Russian military trucks and tanks are rolling over Ukrainians' roads and are closing in on Kyiv, Russia's communication regulator has warned local media of a Ukraine war coverage and ordered media to take down reports describing Moscow's military action in Ukraine as an assault, invasion or declaration of war. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin called on the Ukrainian army to overthrow the country's leadership, which he termed a gang of drug addicts and neo-Nazis. He urged the Ukrainian military to overpower them.
Once again, I appeal to the servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine. Do not let neo-Nazis and banderovцы use your children, wives and the elderly as human shields. Take power in your own hands. It seems that it will be easier for us to agree than with this gang of drug addicts and neo-Nazis who settled in Kyiv and took the entire Ukrainian people hostage.
While the West considers sanctions to be a tough measure to block Russia, experts say the action is not enough to deter Moscow. Russia will now respond to West's sanction on Russian banks and individuals. Moscow says it will seize funds of foreigners and foreign companies in Russia. Russia's Security Council said that Moscow has not ruled out nationalizing the assets of companies registered in the US and European Union. Russian foreign affairs experts are warning against Moscow's move, saying that Putin had wrecked his legacy with such acts.
He's wrecked his legacy. He could have had the legacy of a man who had brought up Russia from its knees and made it into a considerable power without doing what he has done now. But the reality is that Russia is now going to burn through its reserves that it's built up, partly due to the high price of oil, partly due to genuine macroeconomic prudence. And Russia doesn't have a bottomless piggy bank. And the longer this war in Ukraine continues, and it looks like it will continue this is a marathon, if you like, not a sprint, then the reality is that he will find it difficult. The body bags will come home, the money will be depleted, and he cannot sustain it for long. So it is actually it's in Russia's interest to have a short, quick war, and it's not going to get one.
Russian troops continued pressing their attack on the Ukrainian capital and other major cities, trying to advance on the Kyiv from several directions. The Russian invasion of Ukraine began on Thursday with massive air and missile strikes and ground troops moving in from the north, east and south.
The rush to Kyiv, a capital under attack. As we headed for the city this morning, there was little moving, apart from Ukrainian troops. But the Russians are watching from the skies, ready to strike, as they did here, just an hour outside the capital. Well, this is what we've come across on the road to Kyiv. This convoy was obviously travelling to the city to be part of the defence of Kyiv. This is an air defence missile system. It was hit yesterday. The smoke is still rising here. And here too, after an early morning strike on a block of flats near Kyiv's Giuliani airport. The authorities here say it was a Russian missile strike that killed 2 people. It could have been many more, but plenty of locals had fled or taken cover in shelters. Yuri Shevchuk, who lives nearby, says the West must help Ukraine.
I wanted to say for you, for your governments because that we are in need, urgently in need, as soon as possible, as much as possible. We are in need anti-aircraft missiles, we are in need anti-tank missiles, we need ammunition.
Is there any message that you would wish to send to President Putin?
I wanted to say to President Putin that only one way for him, it's way to hell.
Well, this is what Kyiv woke up to this morning. All of this destruction is in a residential area in a European city. And there is a real sense here now that nowhere in the capital is safe. And so much of Kyiv now looks like this, still standing, but bracing for impact.
Всім доброго ранку, українці.
Ukraine's embattled president, Volodymyr Zelensky, took to the deserted streets, shooting a selfie video to reassure his people.
Значить так, я тут.
I am here, he said, and we will not lay down our arms. Far from it, we found Ukrainians taking up arms, forming volunteer brigades to defend the city alongside the local police.
Я не хочу жить, и многие мои побратимы не хотят жить в России.
This volunteer, who goes by the nickname Moloy, said, "I don't want to live in Russia, and my brothers in arms don't want that either. We will defend this city, or I will die." The volunteers are looking for Russian saboteurs, said to be already in the city. Nearby, we met Nino, out walking her dog and venting her fury. We demand an end to the war, she says. We can do it with sanctions. We must isolate the aggressor country. It terrorizes the whole world. With Russian forces at the gates, some are still fleeing the capital. For now, the city remains in Ukrainian hands, but the battle may be just beginning. Orla Guerin, BBC News.